every day they're posting sort of rage bait saying like, Hollywood is so cooked, or, you know, Hollywood's dead. Let's go. I founded Worklife in 2019. We are an early stage venture capital firm writing the first check to one or two people in an idea. The vision for the firm has always been, how do we make work more creative, flexible, and human for all types of work? So initially we made a lot of investments in B2B software, helping mostly developers and designers and more creative people in the workplace. We recently had our first $1 billion exit, so we invest when the company is just at a formation stage. So an LLC, a bank account, no website, no product just yet, and we help companies every step of the way. It's not just something where we write a check and then we move on. I'm involved on a daily basis and really put my own operating experience to work throughout that process too. For founders today, the problem is not finding capital. There's plenty of VC firms. There's a lot of money that's readily available, especially for great teams building in AI. Where I spend my time and where I really like to differentiate is, how do we actually be helpful, and how do we help really technical people think about the not so technical stuff? Whether that's building out the first marketing strategy, sourcing and closing the first marketing hire, pricing and packaging. So now that you've built a product and you're really excited about what's been created from a technological perspective, we also need to figure out exactly how much are people willing to pay for it and how big is that market size. So we do spend a lot of time on the core components of building a big business, and for most founders, we text every day, we talk every day. I'm available on evenings and weekends. I really make sure that I'm there when founders need me most, and I'm never passing the relationship to someone else. Venture capital is a really hard job. I think for those that say it's easy or it's a retirement job, I'm not sure where they're operating. I find it to be incredibly challenging. You're solving really hard problems, most of the time with founders who've never started a company before, and many of them have never been in the corporate world before. And so it could be everything from prepping them for a major meeting with a CTO of a major AI company, talking through every single step of an acquisition and if it makes sense for their startup to get acquired by a bigger company. A lot of it is coaching. How do you go from being a 20-year-old entrepreneur to a public company CEO? There's a lot of growth that needs to happen in a very short amount of time. I will say for us, we have an amazing track record of writing the first check to companies that see billion-dollar exits or that become the fastest growing software companies in history. And so my bar for founders is very high. We're called Worklife, but our thesis is more around the tools for your work life. I think the vision of having work-life balance when you're an early stage founder is a myth. To create something that needs to move quickly, be venture scale, from sometimes 200 employees to 1,200 employees in the same year, it requires a tremendous amount of effort. And so we do take the work part very seriously. From my perspective, it's been great to partner with founders that are either first timers, maybe underrepresented, maybe didn't go to an Ivy League school, maybe building and selling to large companies, but they've never been in a boardroom before. And so I think a lot of these challenges you really have to approach from first principles, because a lot of the folks that we work with don't have traditional work experience on their resume. I mean, when you talk about what we're most proud of, you earn the right to be a venture capitalist, and so our performance has to be top across the board. And so very proud of the metrics that we've been able to achieve in a short amount of time. We've done that by writing the first check, so investing incredibly early before other firms have a chance to even meet with the founders. And so we do that by me personally having lunch at AI companies that we're excited about, me really working my existing network and staying in touch with young folks that I believe have founder potential and will ultimately leave and start something. I also think there's such an interesting angle in venture where with each new fund, you're sort of reinventing yourself. So you earn the right to be a VC based on your performance, but you also have to earn your right for founders to want to work with you. And so with each new fund, we sort of evolve and rethink, where are there ways that we can be truly helpful, and how does that compare to what other firms are offering? The way that I meet founders, or the way that I find investments is actually quite unique. There's been sort of an evolution over the years, so my Substack has been really popular in terms of just connecting with founders around certain themes and just areas of interest across the startup ecosystem. I also find that the best way to find new companies is either folks that are leaving portfolio companies, so I'm the first call as they're leaving to start something, just having a great reputation and great working relationship with the founders that we've previously invested in. That's been the #1 way for us to meet great founders. I think good people know good people. The first conversation with any founder is very much exploratory. It's from my perspective, I only work with a handful of companies each year. I want to make sure that I can have tangible impact on the business, so there's plenty of companies that aren't a good fit. For me in particular, I do spend a lot of time really investigating more things on the go-to-market side. So what is the pricing going to look like for this product? Is there a lot of competition? How do you think about customer development and partnerships, and to what extent are you able to raise a lot of capital and acquire maybe some of your competition as well? I really think holistically around what needs to happen over the next maybe 12 to 18 months, where we can have a very tangible roadmap of ways that we can work together and we can get this company not only off the ground but to venture scale very quickly. What I look for in founders has evolved over the years. I would say in my first 2 funds, we were very much backing people leaving top companies. So I would go have lunch at OpenAI, I would go have lunch at Anthropic, I would spend time with various different companies across the ecosystem where I felt like there was really strong entrepreneurial talent. I think that's still true today, but I'm also increasingly excited about the fact that with AI, anyone can start something. And so while we're very much investing in Silicon Valley, we look for things that have great potential outside of the Bay Area. I'm a big fan of Replit and a lot of companies in Silicon Valley that have made it possible for anyone to start something without knowing how to code. And so the world has changed dramatically, and I think that we're going to see a whole new era of entrepreneurship where you don't need a 4-year degree in computer science to build something really special. And so I do think looking forward into the future, there's just going to be a whole new wave of entrepreneurship, and we want to be prepared for that as well. AI has definitely changed how companies operate very quickly. In the short term, and where I spent a lot of my time, is how do we get a company's data in a good place? How do you ensure anyone on the team has the right level of access to the information they need to do their job? So whether that's making a better PowerPoint presentation, whether that's reporting back to the company's board, whatever it may be, and sort of no matter what your level of its seniority, we want to make sure people have the right information at the right time and they can pull that themselves without any dependencies. So I think that's the nice part about AI, is it's really fundamentally empowering people inside of a company. Where I am concerned or spending more time or want to investigate a little bit more is the fact that we're going to have to figure out what happens to entry-level jobs. So we have so many people that are graduating top of their class, going to a great school, unsure what to do next because there aren't as many entry-level jobs as there used to be. There's a joke in Silicon Valley right now, there are more people trying to get into YC than there are actually going to any of the tech companies, and so it sort of speaks to where the future is maybe going. My job as a VC may get harder because if the majority of college graduates are attempting to raise venture capital and they want to start something, there's just going to be a lot more companies to go through. And I think there is something in starting something because you truly believe in it and it's your life's work, not starting something just because it's been a little bit hard to find a job. The trend that I'm watching closest is how small can a company actually be. I think in the last year, we've really been sold this vision that we're going to see billion-dollar tech companies with a single employee. I actually don't believe that that's true. I think in the light of what's happening today, we're actually seeing AI is really good at certain things, but you still want to have really smart people in-house. I'm seeing such an interesting shift where marketing has become one of the most highly sought after and well-paying jobs in Silicon Valley, which historically marketing has been a bit more of an afterthought. But a lot of the AI companies, they're incredibly well-funded. They have a lot of competition. They need to differentiate from a brand perspective. And so I'm seeing this really interesting shift where companies are hiring a head of experimental creative, so maybe they're doing a lot more stunts. Ramp did a great job of that at the Super Bowl this year. They had hired Kevin from The Office, did a tailgate party in San Francisco. They really did something very experiential and something that is much bigger than your traditional maybe 30-second slot on a Super Bowl ad. The AI native filmmakers to me are really interesting. Like every day they're posting sort of rage baits saying like Hollywood is so cooked, or Hollywood's dead. And I think if anything we're seeing a lot of the AI native filmmakers, because they've never taken a directing class, because they've never really read a script, like there are a lot of gaps in how they view creating films. And I think a lot of the AI slop that we see today, it's because there are individuals sort of breaking into this industry, but they don't really have respect for the craft, and they haven't watched or consumed enough to really understand like what makes a good film. I do worry a lot about deep fakes. I also worry about voice cloning as well. There's a lot of ways for anyone to say absolutely anything in the voice of someone else. I love the work that 11 Labs is doing as far as protecting actors' voices. I think it's really important for us to protect their ability to make money in doing animated films, in speaking on podcasts. Like there's definitely a science behind promoting a film, and if you're not able to go on podcasts or if people hear snippets of something that sounds like your voice, but it's not something you said, we're up against some like real existential threats. But I am happy to see that there's been protective measures in place where companies are thinking from a talent first perspective, and that's something that we always encourage our companies to think about as well.